welcome back, 5011 fam. How y'all is?
Oh, there's something on my mind.
What?
Somebody please, please.
Click. Doom, 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 doom. Let me
It's
tell
just a
you, that one right there.
what you
Uh,
say.
as always, it's DiDi, it's Jay. We're here doing what we do, having conversations that spark conversations. And y'all,
Yes.
it is Black History Month.
Whew.
It is Black History Month. And, Dee and I talked about it, and we really want this Black History Month to be very intentional. Like,
Yes.
so we're coming in with things kind of broken down into sections. We're going to talk about entertainment today, y'all. Y'all know we love getting into things of entertainment. We're talking about entertainment. We're talking about the history makers, the path openers, the people who have just like really made Black entertainment what it is, has made it
Yes.
monumental, has made it something that people can't help but copy. So that's what this
Period.
episode's about. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the 5011 Chronicles. Let's get into
Mhm.
it. So, Black entertainment, it's so crazy because I don't think enough people actually know this about our country. So, I'm going to start with just a little fact.
Come on, facts.
Here's some facts. Out of the top exports of our country, for those of you who don't know, the leading export of the United States is entertainment.
Oh, they're just gonna say black people.
That not
Catch that
anymore.
tea.
That not anymore. And it was probably a leading import at one point too. But it's entertainment. And when you look at like the entertainment that we have these days, whether it be movie, whether it be film, movie and film, whether it be music, whether it be film, whether it's actual, poetry. If you're looking at, visual art, our people have
Always been the blueprint.
always been at the forefront doing
Yes.
the things. And I'm not even just talking about modern, but I'm talking about like ancient art, like the fact that there's so many
Yes.
Black households that have Kenyan masks.
Come on now.
Come on now, keeping hold on to our heritage and not
Who
realizing
was the
it.
pioneers of the holograms? I always be about to say
Ooh.
holograms. I tear it up every time.
Yes, hieroglyphs,
Hieroglyphs.
like the beauty of the art. And I mean, like, there's so many things that we were just kind of ahead of the curve always.
Yes.
People that would eventually become the diaspora, our ancestors. So we're just gonna make it
Mm-hmm.
easy for everybody to digest. But our ancestors of the diaspora have always been ahead when it comes to entertainment. And it's interesting because we haven't always separated entertainment from spirituality. There's
Mm-hmm.
always kind of been a connection between
Yes.
our music, our art, our words, and our divine connection to God. So I think that's
Yes.
like has always been something that has happened like from the beginning with us, and that will always continue to be a part of it. But
And you
you
can
can't
feel the
talk
soul
about
in it too. You can feel the soul.
absolutely.
That's why
That's
when
what
we
makes
sing,
I
it
think that's what
sounds
makes it so
different.
different. Hmm. And even like thinking about like spirituals, thinking
Mm-hmm.
about all the things of the things when they were marching and they were singing. And you would
Mm-hmm.
have these marches and you would have like a Mahalia Jackson there to
Yes.
really ground the energy. Let's get us all on the same vibrational frequency real quick.
Yes.
Let's get us all on the same page. Whether, and it's interesting because you have to look at those crowds. They were not all Christian crowds, just to let people
Right.
know. The Muslims are present. We had people of non-denomination, all walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
non-religious people were there
Mm-hmm.
in all types of. And I'm really kind of this is coming off of watching Rustin, like
Mm-hmm.
which we're going to get into Rustin a little bit later. Um, but I don't know, just like you can't talk about entertainment, especially not in
Yes.
this country and worldwide, and not be able to talk about the Black influence in what is modern
you can't
entertainment.
you can't honestly talk about it because they'll talk about it and pretend
Facts,
like they
facts.
started this, that, and the third. But we know where it really originated. We know who really started it. And if you really think about it, like when it comes to like even with gospel, if you go to like a black church and then you go to like another church,
Mm-hmm.
you feel the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When the choir sing, like for in black churches, like the choir is such a pivotal part of
Yes.
church.
Yes.
Whereas if you go, if you've ever been, I don't know if anybody's ever been, but I know for me, like when you go to other churches, the choir is kind of just like decoration. and
Mm-hmm.
we're all gonna get our hymnals and we're gonna whatever. But
Yes.
it's not the same as like when you go to like the choir be like a very key part. Like if your church ain't
Mm-hmm.
got a good choir, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like big facts. I actually have a little trivia, which D and I are going to get into some serious trivia later on in the episode. But I have a little trivia that I think is important as we talk about Black history and we talk about the influence of
hmm
people in our culture. So, gospel choirs, right? Do you know who the leading like change makers were in gospel? There was one in particular, one lady in particular I'm looking for here. This woman helped because she had classical musical training. She brought her classical musical training to gospel music, and she helped create the idea of 3/4 part harmony in gospel music because that was
come
not
on,
something that
three
was
four
done
part. Who
before.
created the three
So,
four part
so
harmony?
the fact that we weren't really doing that before, and there was this age of time where this choir director, this minister, came
hmm
forth, and she basically is one of the godmothers of gospel music, but
hmm
especially of gospel choir music. Can you guess who that is?
I don't know who created no 3/4 part harmony, child.
The
Because when I
lady who
think
is
gospel and Black
responsible,
people, I just always go to Mahalia Jackson. That'd be my first person that I go to.
the lady who is quoted as responsible for bringing harmony to gospel choir is Maddie Moss Clark.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
I
the
never
who
knew
would
that.
she with the help of Twinkie Clark would go through and they
Come
would
on,
go on these
Twinkie.
they would go on these trips where they would travel to different
hmm
choirs and they would train these choirs and do choir workshops and they would sing with them. And there's a video like one of my favorite videos on YouTube is actually Dorinda is with
hmm
Maddie Moss at this Dr. Maddie Moss. Let me go ahead and put that respect on there. at a service with her, and they were with this choir, and they were in the choir, of
Yes,
course.
I
And it's
never.
just
Come
it's
on, Clark
yes.
sisters.
So I think even like that is a group that is finally getting more flowers now,
Yeah.
but a group that I think is so has been so influential, not just in gospel music, because
hmm
definitely in the fact that the modernization of gospel music,
Yeah.
they became responsible for some of that. They definitely had a hand in some of that. Staple singers also had a hand in that. And of course, we
hmm
get to the Kirk Franklin era, who was definitely inspired by
Yes.
them. But like, it was unheard of taking a Stevie Wonder track and singing gospel on top of it.
Yeah.
And we got the beauty that is You Rock the Sunshine because of that. So it's like,
hmm
I don't know,
And it's kind of
like,
one of those things like the chicken or the egg, because if you think about it, even when you
mm,
think about like jazz and blues and R&B,
yes,
all of that, those people have usually like the people that were starting out that pioneered those eras,
mm-hmm,
they came from the church. It used to
yes,
be a lot of
yes,
R&B singers came from the church. We are in
yes,
a new modern era now, but that's what it
yeah.
used to be. Like if you couldn't
Absolutely.
sing down to the church choir, you can't sing down in my studio. Like
Mm-mm.
it's not happening.
And they always knew that they could find the best singers in the church. Like
Mm-hmm.
you would always be sung down by somebody. There was always somebody in town who was known for being one of the
Yep.
baddest singers in town, and they always sang for the church.
Yep.
Always. Like I
Look
have
at
an aunt who
Tina.
was
Tina
like
got
that.
put out the church in the beginning.
Tina got put out the church. But it's like there's so many. Whitney sang in the church, Aretha sang in the church.
mm-hmm.
Donna Summer. Donna Summer
Yeah. Oh, I
sang in
love.
the church.
Listen,
I
she
love me
don't be
some
getting
Donna
enough
Summer.
flowers for me.
You know what? Let's talk about it because this is one of my, and I've told you this is one of my soapboxes right here. This is a story in Black history that we have to talk about because not enough people actually talk about this. So,
Yes.
disco, the era that was disco,
Yes.
disco was a bop in and of itself.
Period.
Let me tell you, I have just such a connection to disco music. It doesn't make sense. And I think part of it came from like watching movies like Dirty Dancing
Oh, love
and
that movie.
like I love Dirty Dancing so much, but like that era of film, like in the 90s, there was a lot of stuff coming out where they were using music from the 70s and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
disco and a lot of, even Rugrats was using disco
Yes.
in some of their film. And so like for me, I've always had this connection to disco. And as I
Mm-hmm.
learned more about it, I think I always wondered why it was so like short lived because it was a fairly short period of time that disco happened.
Yeah.
And as I've done more research and as I've heard things, do you know why? disco was killed.
I had watched the documentary that they did. What was the club? Tell me the name of the club. I know you know the name of
Oh,
the
I know what you're
club.
talking about. With the woman owned it. In
Why we
California.
not should have wrote this down.
Should have
I
written this
wasn't
down for
prepared for the
sure.
disco chat.
I know
But
her name
you
is
know what I'm
Jewel, I
talking
think.
about. What was the name of whatever the name of, y'all know what club I'm talking about. Y'all know where Andy Warhol and all the girls was down to the club doing the disco and the things.
Mm-hmm.
And in that documentary, they basically talk about how and why, and I think it might be on Netflix.
I think
They talk
so.
about
Yes.
like how and why disco went the route that it went. And it's honestly like, I be feeling like all the time, I feel like the backstory for everything that involves Black people is always somebody hating, somebody mad. Like I feel like that be always the theme of everything that occurs when it comes to us entering into something or creating something or pioneering something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was. It's crazy because we start to realize the realization for me at least was that like because it was an industry that was led specifically by queer people and by women
Mm-hmm.
and by Black people, that was not something they could let keep going on the way it was going on. And it couldn't be leading because it wasn't just it started bleeding into the churches. You started having churches and Tremaine Hawkins and all of these gospel singers started
Yeah.
creating these gospel versions of disco that now we are ministering to people in the clubs with
Mm-hmm.
gospel music, but it's
Studio
disco and
54
they
was
can
what
dance.
I was trying to think of.
You're talking about 54. See, I thought you were talking about the club that the lady owned, and I think her name was Jewel, and they had a whole documentary about it because she was the lesbian Black woman who they gave her so much grief. Like they gave her, but all of the celebrities would come through her club. Like
Mm-hmm.
in the '90s when Madonna was on tour with the whole Vogue era, they came through the
Mm-hmm.
club because it was like one of the biggest and like most famous queer clubs in
Yeah.
the country. That's the one I thought you were talking about because
Yeah.
that was a
I
big
went a
one
little
that
bit
they had a
older.
whole lot of. Yeah, Studio 54 was definitely yeah. Now that was Andy Warhol's club,
Yeah,
I think.
that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. But when I watched that documentary, they talk about, Black influence in disco and why things kind of took the turn that they went. I gotta find if I find it, I'll tell you what it is. But continue what
Yes,
you
I
were
would love
saying.
to see it. Oh no, that was basically it. Like it's just really sad that like because the industry, you had legends like Donna Summer coming in and just
Mm-hmm.
showing out and rocking, but you also had like the Sylvesters whose stories will never be fully told
Yeah.
that were out there and being these positive influences and then being very body positive. Because think about this, just think about this for a moment. You had this large queer kind of non-binary
Mm-hmm.
figure, large, like he was tall as well. I'm not just talking about like big in stature, but like big in height. This was a
Mm-hmm.
solid man. And not only was he a solid man, yeah, because he went by the name Sylvester. I don't want to, this was before we did a whole lot of
Misgender.
pronoun thingy. So I really think non-binary is kind of what Sylvester would identify as in this modern day, but we're not going to do all that right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So the point being that you had Sylvester, who was anything but what they would have called normal at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and his background singers, these two beautiful women that were two tons of fun, plus size women. I mean, plus size women, singing down because one of them went on to be
Yes.
Martha Wash, another disco legend herself. But it was such a positive image. The music was always kind of this high energy, high frequency type of thing. I don't know. I feel like disco didn't get enough time. It didn't get enough
Disco
time in my
definitely
book.
didn't get enough time. Disco never should have went nowhere. But if you already got Black, then you put the community in there. Oh, you know they're
What?
mad. Oh, you know
Oh,
they're mad.
big mad.
And back then, oh, absolutely not. You can't
Mm-hmm.
thrive. You can't be
Mm-mm.
successful. We're not going to
Mm-mm.
allow that. We got to
Absolutely
shut that
not.
down. And even on the token of body positivity, you had people like Josephine Baker. Josephine
Yes.
Baker, and there's always been like this kind of controversy as far as like her fame and what she represented and stuff like that. But what people didn't understand was, to me, I feel like people over sexualized her. They tried to make it seem like she wasn't entertaining or like she was some type of caricature or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like a lot of people didn't really understand the artistry behind what she was doing. But for somebody like her, a Black woman, to be able to travel everywhere and to be
Yeah.
able to do these shows and then to still, even with her doing that, having to experience that racism of not being allowed in certain places. It's so crazy because it's like, even with us progressing and doing things in entertainment, it's one of those things where it's like, we'll allow you to entertain us, but we're not going to allow you to be a part of
what
you
we
know what
got
I'm
going on
saying?
over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're still, they were always reminded at the end of the day that they're still Black and that they're still
Yeah.
not accepted.
It's like we'll allow you to entertain us, but don't forget you're not one of us.
Exactly.
Very
Like
much
stay in
on
your
that kind of
lane.
energy. But it's interesting that you bring up the fact that because for Josephine Baker, now if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she a trained dancer? She was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah. So it's interesting because even some of our most talented historic figures in entertainment have had to leave the country to find more success. Nina Simone,
Yep.
like for sure, a big one who was not really even welcome over here. Not for real, for real. They really weren't kicking
Listen.
it with Nina, not for real. But she found so much success overseas. And it came with its own controversy, of course.
Yeah.
But that was another legend who I mean, like, oh my gosh. Nina, I could just listen
Nina
to
Simone
that
is one of
voice
the child.
and her singing in French
And
is
they
the
still
most
tried
just
her when they put old girl as her in the movie. Still
Zoe.
tried, my good girl.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like the biopic I need to see in this lifetime is Lauryn Hill as Nina Simone.
Mm,
That is the movie I need to
that
see.
would actually be good. That
That
would
would
actually,
eat.
that never even crossed my mind.
It's always on
She'd have to
mine.
be on time, but
Ugh. Yeah, she's still working on that. Or she's not a singer, but she could kill the look and the vocal delivery. She might be a singer. I don't know. Iyanla Van Zandt. In her older years, I'm telling you, Nina Simone in her older years, oh yeah, it's there. I see
yeah.
it. It's there.
Or the lady who plays on 911. I mean, not nine. Is it 911? Yeah, the lady who plays Hen.
Him?
She,
Really?
yeah. Because at the end of the day, if we gonna put Yanla in there, we can put Hen in there.
I mean, maybe. I'd have to see it. I feel like Lauren has the
She
most
fit in more than
natural
Zoe, child.
appearance. Definitely more than Zoe. Definitely.
I at least want
Anybody fits
somebody
it more
Black
than
with the
Zoe.
features at the least.
With the features,
Because that
yeah.
and that's what was the slap in the face to me, is because Nina Simone's whole thing was like showing that natural Blackness and honoring those features, being
Mm-hmm.
proud of how you look in your Blackness, the broad nose,
Mm-hmm.
the dark
Mm-hmm.
skin, all of that. And for
Mm-hmm.
them to go and do what they did, I'm like, y'all literally like slapped on her whole legacy of what she stood
Whole
for.
legacy.
Like, what are we
Whole
doing?
legacy. Yeah.
At least
Whole
put Hen in
legacy.
there. She fit.
It's interesting because there's a point you brought up earlier talking about like how influential, of course, like we have been a part of essentially every
Mm-hmm.
genre that has come about in music, and I don't think it's said enough, but even country
Yes.
music was like our thing, because we kind of started that rock and roll was definitely
Rock
our
and
thing.
roll was our thing.
We created modern pop. If you look at the eras in time, just if we just go as far back as the 50s, 60s, and you look at each decade, there's
Or
not a
even the
single
30s.
decade.
The
Shoot,
Harlem Renaissance.
come on now, all the way back because the things that were being put down in the 30s, the way in which jazz and
Listen.
bebop started coming through there,
And I
and then
love
scat
blues.
singing,
Ooh, I love me some scat. Ooh,
blues.
yes.
I love me some scat. I will listen to Ella Fitzgerald any day of the week,
Yes. Come on, Ella
anytime, any
Fitzgerald.
hour. Ella Fitzgerald is. I
Legend.
actually did my like junior research project on her. We
Oh,
had a
did
whole
you?
list of people. Yeah, one of my favorites to this day, still hands down, like 10 toes down. That research paper was one of the proudest things I've ever done. But because the research for me as a singer, as someone who sings and like studies vocals, like getting to study her at that age
Mm-hmm.
and starting to wrap my head around the magnificence that is jazz and the ability to improvise. They don't can improvise like nobody's business. Like
Yeah.
the type of improvisation that she did, we only see these days from like a Jasmine Sullivan or Layla Hathaway, and that's
Yeah.
about it. Like nobody else really improvises on stage like that. Like not
And
really.
Jill Scott.
And Jill Scott, absolutely, yes, Jill Scott and Erica Badu, because Erica still absolutely improvises on stage like that. So, but it's like it's very niche now. It's very
Yeah.
it's literally a handful. It's literally a
Mm-hmm.
handful
It's a lost art too.
it is a lost art, and it takes. And actually, I have to say, I have to shout out someone who I think is going to be a face of some form of Black history some way somehow. I don't know how she's going to do it, but I don't doubt that she's going to, and that is Willow Smith. Because I
Hmm.
recently listened to, first of all, her music that she's been coming out with lately
It's
is
good.
something really special. It's really
Hmm.
good. It's really
She found her
different.
lane.
She has found her lane. Let me tell you, she has found her voice. But
Hmm.
I heard her singing. She was doing, I guess it was like a rehearsal type thing, and she was singing along with the Ella Fitzgerald scat record.
Oh,
Killed it.
you gotta send me that. I
Eight.
want to hear that.
Eight. I have to find. I think it was on
Really?
the IG. Eight. And it could have been on YouTube, but it was just the person who had posted was commenting on it. I don't think y'all are realizing how talented you have to be able to sing
Hmm.
along with Ella Fitzgerald. But listen to
Okay.
the fact that she's got understanding of the way in which they attack the notes. Like she's got it. She's got.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited because I think at this point the only thing that's going to hold her back is herself.
And I don't see her
If she
doing
decides,
that.
I don't see her doing it. I'm also excited to see what comes from Jaden because Jaden is so fascinating to me.
Listen, he gives me change the world. He gives me revolutionary. Just
Yes,
the water
yes,
alone.
yes.
The
He is
water
so different,
alone.
so different.
And it's like as much as people want to say about them, one thing you cannot say is like you could talk about whatever you want with their relationship, but the way they raise those kids and the kids that they have,
Hmm.
they did their big one. I don't care what
They did.
nobody say.
That will
They
always
raised
be
some
their
very
legacy.
well-rounded, smart, emotionally and spiritually intelligent children. And they are
Yes.
aware of the world. They are not privileged by any means when it comes to that. They are very, very aware of the world.
Hmm. Hmm. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Um, but like you literally look at every era. You look at every era of music changing, and you see Black people at the forefront of it. You
Hmm.
see at the when you're looking at the 50s and 60s and bebop and sock hop and all of that good stuff is coming through. Elvis Presley did not get where he was by himself. That was Big Mama Thornton's song. Let's just go ahead and put it out
Exactly.
there because for some reason that keeps being forgotten. That was a Black song. You also had Fats Waller. You had so many other singers that were really rocking out. I
Hmm.
think Muddy Waters was around that time
Oh,
as well.
yes.
Like real blues, and this brings in that next era of jazz, that next era which is going to ultimately get us to disco. We already talked about Donna Summer. We already talked
Hmm.
about Ella Fitzgerald. We already talked about we actually didn't even talk about Cheryl Lynn, but honey, Miss Cheryl Lynn coming through right around the 80s after disco, and we've got this modern pop. Black people, Black artists are the reason that pop is what it is now.
Period.
Because if you don't
Period.
have Whitney Houston and you don't have Michael Jackson, you don't have modern pop
At all.
at all,
At all.
at
And
all.
people be
And they were
sleeping on
considered
that.
pop. Modern pop was really Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson in the 80s. Now, this is
Hmm.
not to discredit Cyndi Lauper doing her big one,
I
Madonna
love
being
Cyndi
introduced to the
Lauper and
game,
Madonna.
but you don't get the sound and the
Hmm.
style and the cleanliness of
And
what
one
is
thing I
modern pop.
loved was some 80s pop. 80s pop
80s pop,
was something else. Like,
Thriller,
uh,
Thriller,
and, and
every
I know it's
the
controversial, but
albums.
I love me some Michael Jackson. Like, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Bad is literally,
Bad,
Bad
boom,
is one
boom,
of my
boom.
favorite.
One of my
Who
favorites.
can make an
Yes.
album where every song on the album is a hit? Every song on the album is a single, like
Hmm.
the whole album. And
The
then you
whole
had the
album.
genius who is Quincy Jones. Like,
Yes.
let me tell you something. For Quincy Jones, this man will sit down. He is writing the music, not do with the beat mixers, and he was composing, baby,
Yes, he was. He is
composing.
a true
Okay, he was
composer now.
writing
Yeah.
B flat. Okay, sharps. Okay, he was writing
Hmm.
it down, and to be able to do that, people don't. I need him to get more flowers. I need more flowers for Quincy Jones because people be
Yes.
sleeping on what the impact that he really had in music in general. He had a big part of that shift of Michael Jackson going solo and really
Hmm.
his music being what it was. And people don't talk about that enough for me.
I agree. And before being shamed, L.A. Reid and non-shamed, Babyface, because we don't have anything for L.A. Reid, but the as a pair, the
Mm-hmm.
writing that they did during this time,
Yes.
oh my gosh, they wrote for
Babyface
Michael. They
pen is
wrote with
insane.
Michael. What? What? Never misses. Never
Don't at
misses.
all.
Never misses. Like never misses. So I mean, like, you don't get modern pop without Black influence. And then literally coming
Absolutely.
out of modern pop, the next era that we had was the introduction of hip hop.
Yes.
And hip hop begat rap, and here we are. So you literally
And which
don't get to
included
modern
another
music.
style of dance too. Because every time we give you another era of music, we give
That's
you
true.
another era of
We give
dance
you
as
dance. That's
well.
true. Big
We giving
facts.
you new dance moves. And this is
Hmm.
going on. That's in our
All the way
blood.
back. That's
That
in
is
our
in
blood.
our
Hmm.
blood. Like when people
Hmm.
would like, that's why I don't have an issue with like twerking and stuff like that, because it's like it's sexualized here now
Here,
in our
yes.
generation. But
But
this is in our
in
blood.
the
This has been
homeland, they've
what
been
they've been
doing this.
doing.
They've been doing this for
Okay.
thousands of years.
Like it's
Absolutely. No, I
natural for
agree with
our
you.
body to move to the beat. It's just gonna do that. It's the spirit in the music, and it's the spirit
Hmm.
in our blood. We can't help it.
Yep. I completely agree. I completely agree. And that's crazy, but no, you're absolutely right. Like every time we've introduced new music and a new era of music has come through,
Because
we've
breakdance came
introduced a
with hip
new
hop.
era of dance. It did. It did.
I can't do it to save my life, but you know how talented you got to be to breakdance,
Oh yeah.
and they be doing some wild stuff. I can't even barely do
Well,
a
I'm a break
handstand.
dancer.
Come on,
I
breakdance.
break dance. Yeah,
I would
it's
love to see that.
I do it in my spare time. Just around the house, in the middle of the aisles at
Listen,
Walmart.
if I
Just
ever saw you just spinning on your head one day, the cackle, I would laugh.
let me quit. Um, okay. So we talked a little about you also have to like bring in, I guess, because we talked a little about music, but you also have to
Well,
bring
since
in
we
the
stopped
fact
at 80s, let's go in just 90s, because the 90s was entertainment, Black entertainment in
Black
general,
entertainment,
bubble.
it went to a whole different place. It went to a
That
whole
was the
different place in
next
the 90s.
renaissance. Like it was like
That was
another Harlem Renaissance.
absolutely,
It
it
was the
was
90s. Me and Brittany was
it
talking
was
about this the other day, and it was like I never even thought about it till she said it's like that was the next Renaissance.
hmm
We literally, it was a whole new stage set for Black television, Black film, and everything. And it's like even when you talk film and television, you had those pioneers. Like I did my paper on Dorothy Dandridge because she was a theater
yeah,
kid.
period.
You couldn't tell me she wasn't gonna be on Broadway, okay? And like even when you think about somebody like Dorothy Dandridge to be around in an era with somebody like when the Marilyn Monroes and the Lizas
Hmm.
and those girls were popping, and like Dorothy Dandridge carved a lane for herself of being that girl. You know what I'm
She
saying?
did.
And it's like sad to once I did my paper and I really learned about like her story, her real story, and
Hmm.
what she went through, and that battle and that struggle that she went through
Yeah.
internally with herself. And it's
Hmm.
to be expected. I'm sure like a lot of Black artists went through that when there was at a time where it's like you're accepted for your entertainment, but then you still have to deal with the judgments and the ridicules and the racism and the looks and the
Hmm.
comments
Hmm.
you have to take in so much. You know what I'm saying? And I know on a certain scale, people still go through it today, but people were bolder then than they are now. Like here now, it's a little more. They find other ways to do it without
Hmm.
being so outwardly about it because they'll get socially ridiculed. It's not as socially acceptable. But back
I'd
then,
say it's kind of like it's a little apples and oranges. And one reason I say that is because like in the like now, it's people may not be saying it in your face, but you might get a million tweets about it, like, which is different than, that one person who might
yeah,
have
that's
bucked
true.
at
That's
you.
true.
It's a little different. And like you said, the attacks are different, but
Well,
I
when
feel
I
like it's
say in
almost
your
like,
face,
yeah.
I'm speaking more so not necessarily consumer, but the people creating, like the people in control.
Hmm.
Like, so
Okay.
it's like you're not gonna go on set and outwardly experience it the way you, or you're not gonna go to the premiere of your
Yes.
movie and
Okay. I
not be
got what you're saying.
allowed
Yeah.
to, you know
I
what I'm
get what
saying?
you're saying
You
now.
can
Yeah. Yeah.
go
Yeah.
to the
Yeah. Yeah.
Oscars and accept your
Oh no.
Oscar.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're on the same page. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now,
Because
consumer wise, child, the
Hattie
people is gonna
McDaniel
people.
Hattie McDaniel not being able to walk, not being able to sit in the theater to accept her Oscar, and her being the first, like, I think the first Black woman to win an Oscar. Her not being able to sit in
Mm-hmm.
the theater and go up and accept it. She had to sit outside and wait to
Insane,
be mind blowing. Mind blowing.
absolutely insane. And then even on the Dorothy Dandridge of it all and the Oscar of it all, then we had Halle Berry. And I
Hmm.
think it shifted to a tone of more so like tokenism, I think, is what started
Yes.
happening. So it was like
Hmm.
Halle Berry's, the Denzel Washington, like those people, they had people that they were like, okay, we're gonna accept this person.
Right.
And this is going to be the person that we're going to, you know what I'm saying, prop
Yes.
up and allow
Hmm.
to walk through doors. Because when I tell you the way they opened that door for Halle and closed it right behind her,
Closed it right behind her. Like
or
slammed
Whoopi
it closed too.
Goldberg, you know what I'm saying? She didn't win
No,
for Best Actress, but she also EGOT.
she
She's an
she
EGOT.
went for supporting. Yeah, she went for supporting. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, to even with that, like for Halle, first of all, for it to be the 90s when she won,
Hmm.
and then the role that she won for, people have their, because as
Was
far
it the
as
night? Did Monsters Ball really come out in the 90s?
I'm pretty sure that was, I feel like that was the 80s.
I feel like it was early 2000s.
Was it the early
I feel like it was early
2000s? When did that
2000s,
come
like
out?
2002.
Child, that's all the same era to me in my mind. I was a kid. It's child, that whole time frame
2001.
blurs together. The 90s, it's the same thing. It was still 90s leftover,
It
child.
was it was 90s adjacent. Okay, I'll give it to you. 90s adjacent. Okay.
But that's worse though. We got to Y2K before a black woman could win,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And for her to be the first. And then after her, it was kind of like crickets.
Crickets.
Crickets. They was like,
Crickets.
y'all can
I
be
honestly don't even know who
nominated,
the next one
but
was.
good
I
luck.
honestly don't even know who the next one was. It probably was Viola. But
Because
and
what did Jennifer get? Supported? Was she
Jennifer
supporting?
got supporting. Yeah,
Child, who was that? That's sad
it
that
might
it
have
was
been
that
Viola.
long.
Yeah, it might have been Viola.
That's sad.
Honestly, but yeah, that's it. It is sad, actually. It's very sad. Oh, it's very sad. And honestly, the parallel to the Dorothy Dandridge story is that happened to a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of our people who did not know how influential they were going to become, but who were influential, who were even somewhat dangerous to the status
Yeah.
quo. Because Dorothy Dandridge was definitely dangerous to the status quo. Billie
Mm-hmm.
Holiday was dangerous to the status quo. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they were against the grain of what was expected from not just black people, from but black women. They were expected to you don't say anything unless you up on this stage
Yep.
singing. And then when you sing, you need to sing what we want you to sing. Don't you be singing that strange fruit mess.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, knowing how her life ended is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Both of them, yeah, both of them tragic endings. Um, and the ending, like, did you see the movie, the Billie Holiday movie that came out recently with Andrew Day playing her?
Did I
It
see
was like a
that?
couple years ago.
I did see that. That was
Yes,
really, really good.
it was so good.
It was on
It
Hulu,
was so
right?
good. Yes, yes.
Yeah, that was
I think
really
it was
good.
like
That was real, and it
the
was so
People versus
sad.
Billie
Oh, it was so
Holiday or
sad.
something like
Yes,
that,
yes.
or United States versus Billie Holiday, something like that. But it was very sad. It was some brilliant acting. I mean, but it was heartbreaking, and
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy because there have been so many of our people who throughout the years in history that has been their story's been some version of that. They
Mm-hmm.
have, you know, we'll only allow you to reach a certain level of success, and when you're bucking against the system too much, I even think about NWA. When you're bucking against the system too
Yep.
much, we're gonna have to put a stop to it. There's a certain line you can't cross when you're speaking your mind. You get freedom of
NWA
speech
didn't
until we
even
tell
buck
you
the
you don't.
system. They slapped the system in the face,
They
punched it a couple
they
times,
did. They did.
and they
They
had
did.
every right. Because if you think about it, they're from LA, and at that time, it was the Rodney King thing.
Rodney King,
And
absolutely.
so it's like,
And Watts.
yeah, I can't even imagine
But you know, that
watching
has been a
something
thing
like
for
that.
us. That's been a thing for us. And like we even brought it up a little bit earlier, but we've always connected music to activism. We've
Yes.
always connected music to activism and art to activism. Like, you know, just like in the 60s, whether it was like, you know, we shall overcome, or whether it was F the police, or whether it
Mm-hmm.
was, you know, like we were in the fields and it's Swing Low Sweet Chariot. There's literally
Yes.
always been some type of song connected to our lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I even just think about like, I recently watched Rustin, and I talked about it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit at the top of the podcast, but I think it's a great little segue into some of the actors, a little bit more into the actors that we've been talking about. And I just have to say, Coleman Domingo was absolutely just breathtaking in his performance in that. It
Mm-hmm.
was so good. It's very rare that we have a story like Rustin told. I think the only other time a story like this has been told on a major scale was Milk, and that was about a white man. So this is basically like the black version. But also like for people who don't know, like Bayard Rustin was responsible. He was the lead organizer of the Million Man March on Washington. And
Yeah.
most people don't know that how influential he was in making sure that was executed the way that it was. Getting
Yeah.
all the people there, finding trucks, making sure refreshments were there, like cleaning up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful story, and I would recommend anybody watch it. I would
I
recommend
need to
anybody
watch
watch
it.
it.
I definitely want to see it.
But I think that Coleman Domingo is someone that I'm very excited to like watch his career continue to blossom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because this man, I know they were possibly talking about him in talks, him and another one, John David. Is it John David Washington? Is that his name? Is that Washington's son, the one who's in Tenet?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't
I
it
don't.
John
Is
David?
it John?
It's something
I be
David. I feel like
no
it's John
shade. I be
David.
calling him Denzel Washington.
Don't call him that. He's trying to create his
But
own
don't get me wrong.
identity.
I loved him in what was the name of the movie? What was the name of the movie that he did? Was it Black
It's John
Klansman?
David.
Black Klansman was really,
Yes.
really good.
Yes.
He
He was
did
very
really,
good
really.
in Black
Now I ain't gonna
Black
lie. If you
Klansman.
close your eyes, sound like Denzel.
I mean,
But if you open your
understandably,
eyes, you see a great actor. He did an
he
amazing job in that movie. So I'm not saying it to shake. Like I'm gonna learn your name, babe. I'm sorry.
it's John David. It is
It,
John David.
that's
Mhm.
just. I'll be like Denzel Washington.
We're gonna
You
get
know how
there.
black
We're gonna
people
get
do.
there.
Just like
But
Brandy was Moesha for a long time.
she was Moesha for a long time, so you're right. Yeah, he is gonna be Denzel's son for a minute, but it's okay. Denzel and Paula's son. But they're both actually two of the people that are in talks for
Mm-hmm.
replacing Jonathan Majors for Kang,
Mm-hmm.
and I think either of them would be phenomenal. And I do think John
I
David
would.
might be really good for it.
You think?
I think so.
No shade. I think he would be too small to play Kane.
I mean, he'll beef up.
No, like height.
They can correct those things.
He could just be sitting down the whole time.
I mean, no, he's gonna be blue and purple anyway, so there's gonna be some CGI. They'll make him taller. It'll be fine.
And it's not shade, but when I think Kang, I think of like it. I don't know. Maybe it's because Jonathan Majors was Kang, and I could see like I could see um Coleman Domingo playing that role.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no shade.
Well, I mean, I could see either of them killing it. I could see either of them killing it.
Acting
I
wise, though,
just
he
think
got the
about,
chops. I
yeah,
just
I
was
mean,
thinking the look.
because I think Coleman Domingo it seems like, I'm not going to say that he's typecast, but it seems like he's like going in a particular direction with his career because
Mm-hmm.
knowing that he's got this Michael Jackson movie that's about to come out
Mm-hmm.
and he's been
I
cast as
cannot
Joe
wait to
Jackson.
see him as Joe.
The fact that he's played by Bayard Rustin and he's about to play Nat King Cole in a movie he directs.
Which I cannot.
He's like,
I'm
I
excited to
can't
see
wait to
that.
see either of
Just
those. I
because
think
it's
both
Nat
of
King
those.
Cole.
Nat King Cole, oh my gosh. Like, but he's really kind of paving a path in this historic figure realm that I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of excited to see. I don't know. I know that he's going to do an awesome job playing Joe Jackson. I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to see him in the role of Joe Jackson just yet. I don't know. I like him so much right now that role is one of those roles that you could easily not like him
Because of Joe Jackson.
because he'll do it so well. You know, Joe Jackson had some unlikable traits.
Because Lawrence Fishburne was Ike for a long time.
For a long time.
In my head, as a kid, that's Ike. I don't care. That's Ike. I don't care what nobody says.
And I really didn't. I mean, it took The Matrix for me to like Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Because anything and everything else I saw him, I was like, I don't really want to watch it. I don't know what it is.
I
I
don't
don't
want to
really
see
want to
Ike.
watch it.
I don't know. He beat Tina. I don't know. I was gonna say, like, I think too, when you were talking about how like there was so much of us like tied to activism and entertainment, but I think too at that time, Black entertainers understood the responsibility that they had to the community. I don't feel like it's the same now. Like now you hear people blatantly say, like, that's not my responsibility, that's not my job. I'm just an artist, I'm just an entertainer, I'm just this. But it's like, no, like you represent something, whether you want to or not. And if you want to just be whatever, you can just be a regular citizen of the world. You don't
Right.
have to have a platform if you're not going to do anything with it. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
even like Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan was a Black Panther. Mama's was a hoe.
Period.
If you look up a lot of artists from 90s, 80s, 90s prior, you're going to see activists in the
Mm-hmm.
title of things
Mm-hmm.
that they were or that they've done.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? They understood the responsibility that they had, and they understood what it meant to open doors. They understood how they had to represent themselves publicly. They understood who they were and what they represented, not just for the community, but in every place that they were, who they represented to people who aren't of our race. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And they understood what that meant. And I feel like now people they don't have that same integrity behind it when it comes to like artists and entertainers and stuff. Like they don't have that same integrity to me. Not at
I
least not
completely
every
agree
I ain't
with
gonna say
you.
everybody, but a lot of them don't.
I completely agree because even back then, you think like athletic entertainers, you think the Muhammad
Mm-hmm.
Ali's, and you think
Mm-hmm.
there were so many of them that were involved in
Yes.
politics and involved in the movement. Like there were a lot of them that had very active roles in it. And you look now, and I mean, we do have. I think you're actually more likely to find an athlete that's involved in some type of activism or
Yep.
advocacy than you are any other entertainer.
And that's something that people actually downed Michael Jordan about because his thing was
Absolutely.
like he never really got into any of that. His whole
Hmm.
thing was just creating his brand as the athlete and focusing
Yep.
on him
Yep.
and
Yep.
what he got going on.
It was
And it's
all
like
about
you
him.
see how even when you see him never speaking out about how his own brand and his own shoes have an effect on the community, and he never really says anything about it. And that's something that people have frowned upon on him for. But it's like if he was an athlete now, and nobody would care. Nobody would
At
care because
all.
they feel like, oh, you don't have to. It's not your responsibility. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
it's
That
crazy
was,
when you
I
think
will
about
say,
it.
that was another thing about the 90s is that is where part of that shift came as well. We had this
Mm-hmm.
shift in like how well we were performing in the arts. So we also had this shift kind of in mindset where there
Mm-hmm.
are now these new leaders who you had those who were still taking the activism route, but a lot of them were like, that's not my job. That's not my responsibility. I don't have to do it. So they didn't.
And I think it came with the money that people started to make in
Yes.
entertainment. I
Oh,
think that had
yes.
a huge part to do with it because it's like those Black entertainers weren't making what they started making during the 90s. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like it's so crazy because we always talk about the 90s kind of being like that last good era, but it's like if you think about it, while entertainment was rising politically, we were going backwards. There were
Yeah.
things that were happening that they weren't paying attention to and that they weren't shedding light on. And it's like now you have it to where even when people talk about like Monique and Taraji and being like, oh, you didn't speak out until it affected you, because people have this mindset of like just playing the game and trying to keep their bag safe and make sure
Right.
they're good and keep their position solid so that they can rise instead of thinking about the whole community. And like you're a gatekeeper essentially once you get to a certain status, and it's
Hmm.
up to you whether you realize it or not to be that person to open that gate and keep it open. And I don't feel like a lot of people do that now. They just be
I
like, I got
agree.
my spot and I'm glad and I just want to stay
I
here.
agree. I just want to stay here. I agree. That is a sad reality of where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say that there are a couple other like shining stars, and I'm really excited to watch their careers like
Mm-hmm.
develop. One for sure, I've been watching her for a little while now. Miss Danielle Brooks. Miss Danielle Brooks was
Yes.
in Orange is the New Black, and I loved her. What was her name? Was it Tasty? I
I
think it
think
was
it
Tasty.
was. No, it was
Tasty.
Tasty the
No, it was Tasty.
yeah, it
I had
was
to make sure it
Tasty. I
was
don't know why
Tasty
I
and
was
not
thinking about
Sweetie.
Crazy Eyes.
Which, first of all, that's another hands down killer of an actor.
Killer.
Uzo Adoba always kills, always kills. But
Mm-hmm.
Danielle Brooks has been like progressively, like after Orange is the New Black, I think she had a baby. And then she like
Okay.
sat down for a little bit, and she had dropped this song, which is called, I think it's called Black Woman. If y'all haven't heard that song, go listen to it.
Never heard
Miss
that.
Ma'am sang down. It's really good. It's talking about being like a chocolate full figured black woman. That's what the song is
Mm-hmm.
about. And she sang down, and the video was everything. And she just beautiful woman, beautiful, love her.
Beautiful
But
gowns.
mute right. But she like killed in Orange is the New Black, and now she is, I think she's been nominated for and won a couple of awards
I
for
was
her
say I think she's one of
performance.
you.
Hmm. Her performance as Miss Sophia in The Color Purple, the musical, which has had its own controversy, of course, that we talked about.
Child.
But I mean, the performances by far were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm putting myself out there. This is the month to see it. This is the month.
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet, but what I have seen of it has been I saw her musical number. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was so black, and it was like,
I'm actually excited to see it because I love the original Color
me
Purple.
too.
So I'm excited to see it. I know it's had its mixed reviews, but
Hmm.
I'm excited to see it. As somebody who doesn't mind a good old musical, I'm excited to see it
And from
for
my
sure.
understanding, it follows the book more than the
That's good.
original
Okay.
movie. The book was, and for people who, I mean, that's what I think people were very, it was off-putting to them, that some of the scenes that they saw, because if you read the book, you know what type of relationship Celie and
Mm-hmm.
Suge have. You know, there's no surprise to you to see that in the
I
film.
don't even understand how that's off. First of all, I in the original Color Purple, if you watched it they
Hmm.
basically first of all they did kiss in the original Color Purple multiple times, and it's like
Hmm.
we know exactly what it was supposed to be about.
It
No, it
was
wasn't a
implied,
full
yeah.
out sex
Yes.
scene or nothing like that. But
Right.
my thing is like, how are you outraged? That happens so much later in the movie. There are so many
Right.
things
So many things you
you
had to
weren't
watch
mad
to
when
get
Celie
there.
and them got sold. You weren't even mad at them for being at Mr. House in general.
The
Like that didn't
S-ating that
upset
was
you.
happening, all of like
What?
the things, the oppression,
None
the
of that.
misogyny, none
None
of
of that
that.
is a
Mm-mm.
problem. That's fine.
No,
That's totally fine.
they got
It
homo in the
should
movie, and I have a problem with that. Yeah, that's what happened. That's what it was. Let's call a thing a thing. If you didn't read the book,
ghetto,
it's showing. It is
ghetto.
showing.
And to be honest, if you didn't watch the first movie, it shows because if you watch the
Come
original
on.
movie and that didn't click to you, it just shows how low your IQ is to me. No shade, but shade. You missing a couple.
Boom
Okay, you two
boom.
flights short of an airline if you didn't catch what was being thrown at you. It's
Because
not
it
my
was
fault.
implied. It was definitely implied in the
It was
original
definitely
movie.
implied, and that's honestly one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie when you see Celie standing in that mirror and she's
Yes, and she
smiling.
starts smiling.
It's such
Yes.
a beautiful and pivotal moment in that movie, and I don't understand how what people took from it is what they're taking from it because there's that wasn't just what that moment was about. It was really her starting to see her own beauty, starting to see herself, and to actually feel loved by somebody. She's
Yes.
never felt that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was such
Hmm.
a beautiful, and I cackle when I see her smiling in every. I'll be cracking up with her. When I tell you, Whoopi had me rolling, and then she in that mirror smiling like that. It was so funny to me, but it was such a beautiful.
Yeah.
The whole
It was
thing
a
of
very
what it
beautiful
stood for. It
moment.
was such a beautiful moment.
Hmm.
It's one of the best parts of the movie because that's when
One of the
Steely really
absolute best
starts to
parts.
find and see herself. And then the
Yes.
other best part is when she ate him up at the table. She ran him
Ate
for
him
Philip.
up that, and I love the scene, the singing at the church scene when she's walking.
Oh yes, when they come
I love
walking
that.
from
I
the
love that one.
club,
That one
that for
gets
the juke
me.
joint
Yeah, that one gets me
into the
every time.
church
I
house.
love that.
Yes.
Oh, I love that one.
And that's so
Um,
crazy. And that's something too, like with I think within the black entertainment of like it started to be this separation between church and like black entertainers because it started to be if you were doing what they call secular music, it became less acceptable for you to be a part of the church or singing in the church or whatever the case. Because now you out here, you jazzing, or you out here doing blues and R&B. You ain't a part of
mm-hmm,
us. Making that
mm-hmm.
secular devil's music.
That devil music. Yep. I feel like one of the best movies to really like put that into a way that people could understand was Fighting Temptations. I feel like that's a
Yes.
cult classic. I feel like at this point that is a cult classic within like especially Black millennial culture. Like we get it. That was
Mm-hmm.
a movie all of us saw. But that's definitely one where that story's told.
Yeah,
Period.
absolutely. And you
Period.
honestly, I think they kind of put that because even with Tina Turner, it was something that was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that choir lady was hating in the beginning. I don't know if that was like the
She was an
Hollywood of it or
absolute
real
hater.
life, but that lady was a whole hater. How you
Yeah.
mad because she sang it down? Give her a
Sing it
lead.
down.
Give her a lead. If they
And
can't keep up, that's
she
not
was
her
in that
fault.
oh,
Yes, it was
like all the way
when she
back
walked out of
then,
church, still get it.
still singing, turning. I love that. You know, I don't hate to say it because the movie is so much more than the violence in it.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
It
One of my favorite
is.
movies of all time. I could watch it any day of the
I
week. I
literally
like
still to this day.
I love that movie. The performances. I mean, for Lawrence Fishburne to make me hate him for 10
Mm-hmm.
years, that just
And
says
Jennifer
it.
Lewis.
I could never hate Jennifer Lewis. I'm
I hated her
sorry.
back then when
I
she
saw that
told
movie,
Ike
but
where
then I
Tina
saw,
was. I
I
was mad.
know, but then I saw The Preacher's Wife, and it was just kind of like,
Can we talk about the preacher's wife now that we're adults? Because why did that angel come down there and try to take that man's wife like that?
try
That
and
was
take
not
that
your
man
mission. That was
wife.
not the mission, guys. God ain't had nothing to do with that.
What? Come on now.
We was cool
Please.
with it because it was Denzel and it was Whitney, and we was
It was
like, yeah.
Denzel and Whitney. It's like, oh yes, the perfect couple. But literally about to steal the pastor wife. Your job, you were supposed to be down here to inspire the pastor and not steal his wife, taking her to
I
the
had
juke
one
joint,
job.
going to the juke joint and serenading. What is going on here?
And we let it happen. We was like, yeah.
Oh, when he
Get
was
it.
making when let me tell you, I knew he was the villain of the movie when he was changing all of those lights so that the
Listen.
pastor could not get there in time. I was like, oh,
And I'm like, now, God, you got to come get your boy because your angel is off the mission.
now that is not what the good Lord
Your
had for you
angel
to
has
do.
gone astray.
Gone astray. He is fallen.
He has fallen from grace.
Angel down, angel down. Um, that was yeah,
That's where the term "God ain't got nothing to do with that" was originated.
yeah. Come on now. Since we're on the topic of Jennifer Lewis, and she's like one of my absolute faves
Iconic.
of all time, icon. She is the mother of Black Hollywood, and I've said it before. But if you
Yes.
haven't read that book, go on Audible, get the Audible version, and listen to her read it to you. You will
Exactly.
not regret it. I guarantee it, because she performs down that book, performs it down, and her second
I
book
can
is
watch her talk
just as good.
any day of the week.
Any day of the week about anything. Listen to her talk.
Literally.
See, and she's a perfect example of what activism and artistry looks like, because she's always been an activist, whether it's been for HIV/AIDS, whether it's been for people with bipolar disorder, whether it's been for voting rights. She's always gotten out there and found ways to modernize activism.
Yes.
She's always tried,
And she always dropping gems.
Always dropping gems. One of my favorites of all time. I give you Paris in springtime. Literally, one of my favorite lines of all time. I'm always so mad when people don't know where that came from, and I'm just like, you're lame. Like.
Speaking of Paris in springtime, Mahogany. Let me tell you something. Diana Ross, baby, icon.
I'm the worst.
You never see. Y'all, this is DiDi and Jay, and we are headed out. Good night. Thanks for listening.
I'm the worst. I've never seen it.
You've never seen Mahogany? Do yourself a favor.
See it. I'm gonna see it.
You better watch it tonight. I don't know where, I don't know how. But you better watch Let me call Denzel and tell him to come down as an angel and show you how to find Mahogany.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it.
I believe you've never seen Mahogany.
Okay, so here's a short confession. Revoked. I have a confession. You brought Mahogany up, I feel like a few episodes ago, and I just had to laugh my way through it because I had no idea what you were talking about.
I don't even remember bringing it up, and I'm so
I had
sad.
no idea. I was like, I've always been meaning to watch Mahogany. Oh my God. It's always been on my list, and I just haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna watch it. I promise.
I am gooped and gagged right now.
I know, you're literally speechless. I'm gonna watch it. It's
so funny, y'all. You know what's funny, y'all? Because when we was preparing for this episode, he was trying to make it seem like I was trying him when I was saying, "Oh, I don't know if you've seen, I don't know if you've heard." And so this time, I didn't assume. I just was like, "Yes, Mahogany," and he hit me with what's that? I'm sorry.
I know, and the thing is, I know what Mahogany is. I just haven't seen it.
Disrespect.
It's disrespect.
Diana is upset.
It's blatant disrespect. I'm the worst. I'm looking it up. It's on Amazon. I'm gonna watch it. I'm watching it.
I guess I'll bring up something else that I feel like you probably, because if you ain't seen Mahogany, I feel like you don't know about Diane Carroll in Dynasty either. It's
I know. Why do you know about Diane Carroll in Dynasty? Hold up.
I mean, I'm just saying, since we ain't.
I know about the legend that it. First of all, it took me a second to catch on the Dynasty. I caught on to Dynasty after watching the remake, which was okay.
Oh, okay. And see, I saw that before the remake came out. That's why I watched the remake.
And that's why I was like, oh, this is a remake. Let me go find.
Let me tell you something. that is when y'all talk about sarcasm, when I talk about reading, that's how y'all know I was watching Dynasty as a child. Okay, Dominique Devereaux was my girl. Okay, you can tell me I wasn't gonna grow up, be on Broadway, and be Dominique Devereaux down. Okay,
Period.
But the way she used to be eating the girls up with that like classy, subtle shade, just reading. I don't know why, but I go up for the bougie Black women that read like that. I go up for that.
Kind of like that Claire Huxtable read, even.
Yes.
Claire would do a real nice, classy, nasty read.
Have
a little funk on it.
And the way she would be going back and forth and going toe to toe with the girls, I'm like,
toe to toe. I think that's another thing that not enough people are willing to have the conversation about, and I'm prepared when they're prepared to have it. But a lot of like Black queer culture, and this is queer as in the full spectrum of LGBTQ+.
Yes.
A lot of Black queer culture has contributed to what is popular and the slang and the movement and the fashion and the mannerisms that are like mainstay in certain areas now.
Because they were always behind the scenes.
Always behind the scenes. These were the hairstylists. These were the makeup artists. These were the choreographers. These were the dancers. These were the choir directors. Period. These were the background singers. These were your companies. Like literally, they were everywhere. So the culture began to spread to the divas. That's how the divas got the culture, is because they were surrounded by them. And I don't think enough people talk about it. Like, I think that's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother episode.
We could go on and over.
I was about to go off. Okay. So yes. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get into this trivia. I think it's time. I think we can do like a little ping pong, a little back and forth, and we're gonna go through some questions. Do you want to kick this thing off, or do you want me to go first?
I can.
Yes. What you got?
With something that you probably don't know. Okay. So this person is a fashion and costume designer. Okay. She created and designed the original Playboy Bunny waitress costumes, the little. She did Nat King Cole's wedding. She designed for Ella Fitzgerald. She had her shop. She was the first Black woman with a shop on Broadway. And she was designing for all the girls. And when I say all the girls, all of the girls. Like, everybody was dressed by her. So let me give y'all a little list. Gladys Knight, Dorothy Dandridge, Jessie Norman, Nat King Cole's wife, Josephine Baker, Ella Fitzgerald, Eartha Kitt, like Aretha Franklin, all the girls. Who's that?
The only famous Black seamstress or designer I know, I don't know her last name. Her first name is Ruth. But it's not her, because she's Wakanda forever. Who is it?
Zelda Wynn Valdez.
Oh.
You should look her up. Okay. And when I say like
Zelda what?
Zelda Wynn Valdez. And when y'all see like the designs of her dresses and stuff, her style of design is literally relevant to this day.
I mean, just the list of people that you called off, like that's giving very like sophisticated woman, very like snatched. Because all of them, I mean, like all of the women that you called off for sure were dressed down all the time.
Because honey, when part of what I knew was because of Dorothy Dandridge and Eartha Kitt. Eartha Kitt is my spirit animal.
I love Eartha Kitt. Love Eartha Kitt. Her as Yzma, Black History. That is Black History.
Yes.
Another voice animator and Catwoman. Another voice animator, another voice actor, who is just like legendary. Please stop sleeping on Cree Summers.
Yeah.
I need the whole.
Cree Summers
that
needs
is
her
Black
flowers.
History. That is Black History. That is Black History.
Give my sis her flowers.
Okay, so my first one is easy.
Okay.
My first one is easy. What do the initials FUBU stand for?
Forest Bias.
Okay, period. Okay, back to you.
Listen, I am the 90s.
Oh, I know. It just gets progressively harder. I wanted to start easy and work our way up. Oh, yes.
Okay, let's see. Who do I want to give you? Who was the first African-American woman to win the Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical?
Ooh. I don't know. I'm going to go with Audra McDonald.
Diane Carroll.
It was Diane Carroll. Oh wow. I'm not
Hmm.
surprised by that because she definitely was a Broadway girl. I'm not surprised by that. Okay, Diane. Okay, here's my next one. Um, we're gonna keep it easy. What do we call the slave songs that combined African rhythms with biblical scripture?
Negro spirituals.
Yes,
Okay, I was gonna say
spirituals,
like that.
correct.
That's what I call it. Is it? Is it? I
Yeah.
thought it might be. I
Mm-hmm.
ain't gonna lie. I thought I was gonna get that wrong because I thought it might be like a technical term, and I'm out here using the
Mm-mm.
slang.
Mm-mm. You're good. Okay, next one. What you got? Ooh, I like your
Okay,
questions.
so because you're doing easy. Okay, I guess I'll give you an easy one.
Okay, I would like that. I would like to get
Okay,
one right.
so Jesse Williams
Uh-huh.
is considered the greatest athlete of what sport?
Jesse
I mean
Williams.
Jesse Owens. Owens. I'm
I was
sorry.
like, Jesse Williams.
What did I?
I don't know him besides the actor. Jesse Owens was the
Jesse
track
Owens.
star.
Yes.
Yeah, Jesse Owens was the track
Jesse,
star.
Jesse Williams. Why is you in here? Even though shout out to you.
And it actually, okay, so I'm not going to ask this question because you just said the Jesse Owens thing, but this was one of my questions that actually related to Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens is also the athlete who defied Hitler's theory of black inferiority by winning 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics that year.
God, we all
It
knew
was
Hitler
during the
ain't know what he was talking
time,
about.
yeah, it was around the time of World War II,
Mm-hmm.
and they were at the Olympics, and Hitler's had this theory of black inferiority that black people could not possibly compete with their lighter complected colleagues. And well,
Child.
Jesse Owens put that to shame 4 times over. So we
Exactly.
love that for us.
I would
Um,
never understand how Hitler became famous. How
I
you become
will.
famous for a genocide against people that you don't even fit the look of? You are not have blonde or blue eyes.
Hey, you had blue eyes.
He ain't no blonde hair, so he don't fit.
He definitely didn't have blonde hair. Yeah, definitely not that. Okay. My question:
Oh, it's your turn? Oh yeah, because that wasn't a question.
Name the 3 black
Oh God.
egots. Who are the
Okay.
3 black
Whoopi.
egots? Whoopi Goldberg.
Um who got who got all of them? Is Cicely
The
an
last 2
ego?
are very recent.
Who's recent?
The last 2 are very recent. They've been in the
Was
past 10 years.
Shirley Rathbone got an Oscar? Is one of them a music artist?
Yeah, both of them are.
Who's the EGOT? Child, I don't
Hmm.
know.
So the 3 black
I know
egots, the
Whoopi.
first one you got Whoopi Goldberg, Jennifer Hudson,
Jennifer Hudson is an EGOT?
and John Legend. Jennifer Hudson got hers last year. She got her Emmy from her TV
That's
show.
who I was thinking. I knew a singer had it. I was thinking of John Legend.
Hmm.
I'm like, I know a singer. There's a singer
John
who ain't an
Legend,
actor.
he got
Because he
his
got his
from
Oscar from his song.
Glory,
Yes.
Glory from Selma,
Yes.
and then he got the Tony from some work he did on Broadway.
I didn't know
I think he was
Jennifer
writing
had
some
did
songs.
that. When did
Yeah,
Jennifer become EGOT?
Jennifer just got an EGOT like in the past 2 years, 3 years. It's
Okay.
very recent. Yeah, Jennifer's
Okay.
is the most recent because John made history as the first black man to do it,
I
and
didn't
Whoopi
even
made history as
know.
the first black woman to do it.
I didn't know Jennifer Hudson had an Emmy.
Hmm. For her show, she just got it for her show
Oh, okay.
because
I
she's in
haven't even
daytime
watched the
television
show.
now.
Not
Yep,
gonna lie. Love
her
you.
show's
That's my
cute.
love you, cousin. That ain't my real cousin, but
Her show's cute. Her show's cute. Your turn.
okay. Sorry, y'all. All right. You'll get this one. This is another easy one.
Okay.
Which singer is remembered as the Queen of Jazz?
The Queen of Jazz.
Yes.
See, I want to say Ella
Say who you want to
Fitzgerald.
say. Boom.
Okay.
I was gonna say who you want to say.
I'm like, I'm gonna say it, and
Say
you're
who
gonna be
you
like,
want to say.
eh.
You know, I would have ate it up if you would have got it
I
wrong.
know you would have wrong.
No,
Okay,
I
so it
would put
was
20
Ella.
on 10.
Okay, so we're gonna do one more question
Okay,
each.
balloons.
Where did they come from? What was that? Okay, so we're gonna do one more question each because I don't know what
Okay.
that was. Okay, you just asked me. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Which legend voiced Darth Vader and Mufasa?
Um, James,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what's his name? I know who it is. I can't think of his Avery?
No.
What is his
But
name?
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones. I'm like James, one of the Jameses.
Avery, I
James.
think, is the guy who played Uncle Phil.
That's why I was thinking, child.
That's why
I
you
was like, I'm like
they kind of favor.
James. No. I didn't think it was him. James Earl
Oh,
Jones was his face was in my head, and James
but
was in my head,
James.
but I couldn't remember the rest of his name. I'm just like James. James did it.
Okay, what you got for us?
Do you want music, athletics,
Just
or
surprise me.
okay? I feel like the rest of the ones I think I got one that's not easy. I'm gonna do fashion. Okay. So Virgil Abloh was best known for being the director of which brand? He was the artistic director for which
Off-White.
brand?
No, Off-White wasn't Virgil Abloh?
You're so
Or was that he did have another, not Gucci.
Louis
It was,
Vuitton.
you know, one of the Louis Vuitton. But Off-White is Virgil Abloh too, right?
I did not know.
Yeah.
If it is,
I'm
I
pretty
didn't
sure
know.
Off-White is his brand.
I say artistic director. He wasn't listening.
Yeah, I was thinking of his brand. You're right.
Listening.
Yes. So the lesson of the episode is to listen, 5011 fam.
Because I specifically put artistic director.
You did. But at least I knew who you were talking about.
You did. You knew the person.
Boom.
And that is
I knew the person. That is the key. So y'all, this is going to be a fun Black History Month for us. We thank you for tuning into this episode of the 5011 Chronicles. We'll see y'all next Wednesday.
Peace.